start with bits and pieces. So this is what's there for the lunch. The auditor asks, and he says that it's a well-cooked books of accounts and lots of money to wash him down. So that's where the fraud comes into, and we have many examples of them. And that's whole of the basis why we had SOX, why we have the current Companies Act requirements, why the fraud is coming into the internal audit, why the pointers also follow the statutory compliance. So even when you are a statutory auditor, there is an expectation from the law, there is an expectation from the policy that you should look into some of the fraud indicators and do an assessment. It is very natural because the fraud is not something which is very different. When we are into the process, we just embed the risk part of it, and we put in internal controls, and when we put internal controls is basically onto the key controls aspect. Typically you can say key financial controls, but when you pull up from the strategic side, it would be more from the strategic aspect, what may be the possible fraud indicators, or it can also be legal and ethical aspect. So you have different risk universe, and from a risk universe we analyze, okay, what is the risk from a fraud perspective. It can be into any area. I think some of the members may be from IT, so it may be related to information technology for the company which I am working, and probably my last day is on Monday. So it was into seeds and crop protection. So basically they have a fraud for counterfeit products. So fraud is everywhere, and since you have human, you have fraud. Computers don't do fraud. We go to the topics like what would be our discussion points for today. We'll start off with the basic level of what is fraud, fraud definitions, and basically the fraud triangle. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of this. No, okay. So I'll make use of these slides. So we'll go through the basic material also, and then we'll go to the control environment. So when we talk of control environment, it has many other components, right, from strategic level, and then we come to fraud assessment, then we come to the policies and procedures part, and then we come to the process part. So how do we set up the fraud framework, how the fraud framework gets into the organization from top to bottom. So please note that I'll be using the approach of top to bottom, and top to bottom is at the heart of what Security Exchange Commission has come out in US. For Sarbanes-Oxley, they also have SOX framework. In it also there is a fraud framework embedded in it. So most of the organization, I would say, be it Japanese SOX, be it the US SOX, or be it the laws of Europe, they generally prefer the top-down approach, because it is the control environment which affects the process, and then you have different components of risk and frauds, which basically they just give out a red flag out of it that, oh hey, this is something wrong. Does it seem interesting, or you had some other expectations of this lecture? Okay. So we go to the basics of fraud, like what is fraud. So it is a deliberate act. So this is very important to note the intention part of it. And when we do a fraud investigation, like I have been involved in investigations also, very important to understand the intention part. And it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of time to identify why you have this fraud, and was there an intention? Maybe it's a mistake, maybe it's a gross omission, it will not be still a fraud. So very important to identify, okay, what's his intention? Unauthorized benefit, okay, not as per the policy procedures, not as per the intent of the management, either for oneself or institution by using deception, false suggestion, suppression, unethical means, and are believed to relied upon by others. So generally from a control environment perspective, you believe that when an employee comes in, you believe that you have done all the interviews, the background checks, you generally believe that he would follow the policies and procedures, and even if some of the policy and procedure he doesn't know, ethically his heart knows what he is doing. So the purpose is to benefit the company, to help it in accelerating the profits, to bring business value. So you can know that, okay, this is something which may not bring the business value to the organization. Depriving another person or institution benefit to which he or she is entitled by using. I think it's not just only about deprivation, it's also about, some of the people are, you can say, adventurous. They want to try out a code which may probably be a kind of virus for the system. So because of his nature being adventurous, he just tried it out. So it's not always that the intention is malicious in a way, like, he's piggybacking, he's taking away the profits of the company or trying to pocket it. But it's something also, it involves the personality, the intent, the way how the person thinks about it. Okay? So that's just a joke that it's not fat, it's the money, and I ate all of it. So it's generally I would say 80 to 90% of the frauds are in this nature. That, okay, how does it benefit to me? And maybe they would like to rationalize saying, everybody is doing it, or I know the top management is doing it. So since top management is doing, why can't I do? So that's a kind of rationalization, or what comes to the mind of the professionals of why to do the fraud. So many forms, we have some examples: embezzlement, kickbacks. I think you must be all aware, it's also in the newspapers, and it's also the mother of many of the laws which are now coming up. Because when it comes to transparency, when it comes to quality reporting, when it comes to stakeholder management, the outside part, they would rely on your financial statements only when they would feel that the internal control over financial reporting is credible. And why it is credible is basically you have processes for internal control, you have very good embedded anti-fraud controls, you have a fraud framework, you have fraud policies, you have management intent, and this transparency helps other shareholders to rely on your balance sheet first of all, but it also helps the other parties to compare, the balance sheets of other companies, and maybe you can become a very good point where they would like to consider you for investment because you are very transparent and solid in your controls. Okay. So let's go to the fraud facts. So 70% of perpetrators are first time offenders, and this is something very very difficult, and you may think in your daily life, like somebody who has not done a crime, is it easy to start tracking? No, he has a very good record, he is not blacklisted by companies, he is considered ethical, having a good experience. And in my real life also I have seen senior leaders, persons having 25 years of experience, considered to be very loyal in the company, they commit a fraud. So why they commit a fraud? Because you have controls which are lacking, and secondly they also feel that we have been really doing a hard work, but we are not getting the right appraisals, we are not getting the right respect, and so that motivates them to do a fraud. And it's not a theory or theoretical thing, it's very real that you have very experienced fellows committing fraud who are more expected as a leader to give directions in the organization. Okay, then management accounts for more than 40% of accusations. So you have small frauds, you have big frauds, you have all kinds of frauds. So management, whatever fraud they do is something big, something they may have conflicting interest. The strategy they may adopt may give them in a longer period of time potential benefit. Okay, so I think financial statements are also, and you have now the fraud is growing. So I would say that if fraud is growing, is it good or bad? First of all, the business is also growing. And second, if the fraud is growing, we as professionals also have opportunities to contribute in the company, bringing transparency and quality controls and building up the fraud framework. So I think that's a responsibility from us, because when people rely on our work, they believe that Okay, you should have known because you have been working in internal controls from quite a bit lot of time. So, so is it a like, you may be an expert in fraud investigation or expert in fraud? No, we are basically, control professionals, and since you know controls, you understand business, you also need to identify the possibility where the risk could happen and risk in terms of fraud. So, as a common sense, management may think, okay, this fraud occurred and how come you didn't know about it? So that would be very surprising. And when you deliver in these terms, only then we will have the professional value and we will have the right respect. Because it's not just about internal controls you are talking, or you are doing a process testing and closing the issue. It's also about the professional responsibility towards the control environment. Okay, I hope it's not very heavy, it's very light, it's just. So I think this is what I was talking of, and this is very famous. It's used all over the world. It's used in most of the consultancies. You can say all the big fours use this. Since I work in KPMG and I have many friends around, it's one thing you will find very common.